What's up all you minties, this is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and today, because of the New Mutants movie that has recently come out, I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite New Mutants stories. And more importantly, where to find them in collected editions. Even if a book is out of print, I can tell you where else they are collected. So, please stay tuned. And welcome back everybody. Now before I get started, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. We put out videos every day. Now I will be talking a little bit about some spoilers, not heavy spoilers, but just some, well I guess one heavy spoiler, but I will warn you ahead of time when I do it, so keep that in mind. So let's start where it all began, because I think it is the most crucial story to read out of all these. Let's go ahead and talk about New Mutants Renewal. And that can be found in the pages of this, and I'll also talk about where else you can find them, like I mentioned, as I talk about the story. So Renewal is the graphic novel that introduced us to most of these characters that are in New Mutants. We're talking about Marvel Graphic Novels, Volume 4, New Mutants. And that is where these characters premiered, for the most part. So you have the introduction of Sunspot, Danielle Moonstar, Wolfsbane, Rain, Cannonball, and then you have Sean back there, and of course Professor X. So this is where it all started. It started as a graphic novel, a little bit of retconning because Rain was living with Moira McTaggart, even though Moira had not even mentioned her throughout the pages of Uncanny X-Men. You get their origin stories right off the bat, and this is a good kickoff to get to know the characters. It can be found in the pages of the Epic Collection. It can be found in the pages of the out-of-print New Mutants Classics Volume 1. It can be found in the graphic novel if you just want to get that. Or the upcoming omnibus that collects, I think, the first 31 issues of New Mutants. So it's pretty much the story of how Professor Xavier thinks the X-Men are dead. So he has to form a team of New Mutants. That's pretty much it. But were the X-Men dead? Spoilers, no. But here he is forming his new team of kids. He eventually gets kidnapped, and the new team has to form together to fight off these new villains that have kidnapped their new teacher, Professor X. And that's pretty much what this is. It was introduced by Chris Claremont and Bob McLeod, even though they misspelled his name in the movie. So let's move on to the second book I'm going to suggest. And it can be found in the pages of Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 3. It can be found in the MAGIK Premiere hardcover, in trade paperbacks. It can be found in the first Epic collection of New Mutants. And that is the MAGIK 4-issue miniseries. Now the hardcover, the Premiere hardcover in this omnibus collects issue 160, which is where this scene plays out. All we know about Illyana is that she is Colossus's little sister. She's 7 years old at the time, and somehow, this is when I mention spoilers by the way, just in case, she gets transported to Limbo, but when she comes back out of Limbo, she's a teenager, and that's where the story takes place. These are her years living in Limbo and what she had to deal with living down there, and it shows Illyana, like I said, like a 7-year-old child, morphing into a teenager, where she later appears and joins the New Mutants with the Soul Sword, the ability to transport to Limbo, and why she has all these dark powers to begin with. This is pretty much that origin story, because before then she was just a little girl from Russia that happened to be Colossus's little sister. No sign of being a mutant at all. But strongly suggest reading issue 160 and the 4-issue miniseries of MAGIK. The next story I'm going to be talking about is, of course, the one that the movie is loosely based on, the Demon Bear Saga, found in the Epic Collection, named the Demon Bear Saga, will be found in the first omnibus, as well as New Mutants Classic Volume 2. So here we are, Volume 3. So here we are with Bill Sienkiewicz joining Chris Claremont on this book. Like, he had done some covers and a little bit of the internal artwork, but this is where he joins the New Mutants, and this is the saga that focuses on Danielle Moonstar, Mirage, and how her past has come back to haunt her. Now, whether you like the movie or not, that's all up to you. Now, I'm not doing this for the people that love the movie and want to know more about New Mutants. I'm doing it just for anybody curious to read good New Mutant stories. By now, Magma has joined the team, Amara, and now we have that teenage Illyana that I was talking about. And of course, her and Kitty Pryde are best friends, so Lockheed is kind of hanging out with her. So it all comes down to Moonstar facing her demons and learning to trust her teammates in order to defeat this big giant bear. What it is and where it comes from, well, you gotta read the story to figure that out. I'd rather you all read the story than go see the movie, in all honesty. And this is the first time we see the team really work together and fight together. We've seen them work together to solve puzzles and team up with, what was it, Team America, the bike riders and stuff like that, fight the Hellions, but this is the first time they've had to fight something so menacing that was just eating away a thing. There's a couple side characters here, a couple of supporting cast members that forever get changed, and it doesn't hurt to have the phenomenal Bill Sienkiewicz giving us this creepy artwork. So this storyline to me, as a kid, is the one that set New Mutants so different than what was going on in the pages of Uncanny X-Men. It just seemed like a darker, more horror story going on in the pages about kids. The next story arc I'm going to be talking about is found in this very volume as well, and that is Legion. Kind of preludes in issue 25 after the team up with Cloak and Dagger, but it leads up to this now classic storyline of introducing us to the character of Legion. So the Demon Bear Saga wasn't the only iconic storyline that Bill Sienkiewicz and Chris Claremont worked on. And, you know, he wasn't on the book very long, but he really put his name, and whenever you think of New Mutants, probably most people think of Bill Sienkiewicz's run. And he finishes out his run on New Mutants just as strong as he started, introducing us to one of the most unique X-Men nemesis, good guy, anti-hero kind of character, the son of Professor Xavier, Legion, David Charles Haller, who's a mutant that has multiple personalities, and each of the personality comes with its own mutant power. And now the team and Professor X have to face him. Yeah, a little bit of retcon again because of Professor X and Moira knowing about this kid, not telling anybody about it. But man, this kid comes wrecking havoc on the New Mutants. Just flipping through some more of this awesome artwork. I can't wait to see this in oversized artwork. So this will be also part of the omnibus. It's also part of the New Mutants Classic Collection Volume 4, just in case you were looking at other places to get this. The next story I'm going to be talking about is the Asgardian Wars, and that is collected in New Mutants Classic Volume 5, also in the oversized hardcover X-Men Asgardian Wars. As a matter of fact, I think most people would label it as an X-Men story. To me, I think it fits New Mutants so much more. So it takes place right after the events of X-Men and Alpha Flight, and it's literally just pure fun. It is the God of Lies, Loki, and he plunges the New Mutants and X-Men into Asgard, partly because he just loves mischief, right? But partly because he's trying to tighten his control over Asgard. The biggest selling point to this, all of this written by Chris Claremont, by the way, is, I'm sure you can tell here, the artwork by the phenomenal Arthur Adams. Not just Arthur Adams, but the inks are done by Terry Austin, and he is probably my favorite inker of all time. And it's mainly, to me, it feels more like a New Mutants story than it ever did an X-Men story, because I think there were so many changes to the New Mutants characters, more so than any of the X-Men characters, with the exception, of course, of the cover with Storm and the Hammer. That one there. At this moment, I just want to remind you all to smash that like button if you haven't yet, and ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out our Patreon. It's a great way to support the channel, and thank you to our existing patrons. You all make videos like this possible. Now, the next book, the title of it is a spoiler, so just a warning for those that care about spoilers, and it can only be found in this particular, well, this isn't even an omnibus, this is an oversized hardcover, and this is the Inferno Prologue. Now, we are getting a reprint of Inferno, but it will not reprint the stories in here. It's just Inferno and the crossovers. And, okay, so just in case, again, spoilers. Now, in the aftermath of Fall of the Mutants, one of the characters ends up dying. And this was Doug Ramsey. Doug was a friend to Kitty Pryde and a friend to the New Mutants. He also had the ability to translate and understand any language, whether it's computer language or whether it's alien language, whatever it was. A lot of the writers and editors thought that he was kind of a waste of a character. And during the Fall of the Mutants, he gets shot. As a matter of fact, nobody even notices that poor Doug gets shot and killed. So, this is the aftermath of that story. And it all takes place in one issue, issue 64, and now let's look at it. And the name of the story is Poor Dead Doug. In between the time that we looked at the Demon Bear Saga and the Asgardian Wars, you probably saw this really creepy, goofy looking character, this guy right here, Warlock, or are even familiar with him from the recent runs. And there's my girl MAGIK, looking a little more demonish, right? By now, Brett Blevins has taken over the book, and Louise Simonson is the head writer. Warlock is an alien from outer space. He's part of the, I guess, the best way I can describe it is if you've read the Phalanx Covenant, you kind of know what he is. He also happens to be a mutant. And he doesn't understand Earth things, such as death. So, in order, and this is a really dark story, and there's a reason why this story is in a lot of people's list. So he goes to the morgue where Doug, his friend, his self-friend, is dead, and he reanimates him because he's trying to make his friends feel better. He has this idea of like, hey, let's just reanimate his body and then everybody will think I'm some kind of hero. So that doesn't happen, right? It has the exact effect on the mutants, especially with Rain, who, you know, had kind of a, not really crush, but she did have a really good relationship with poor Doug. Now, she did have a thing with him. But this is just so dark and just way ahead of its time, I think. I love and praise this story a lot, but here's where you can find it. Sadly, it's the only place you can find it until we get another New Mutants Epic collection. Or this gets reprinted. Next up is Cable. Found in the pages of this premiere edition, found in the pages of a trade paperback called Cable and X-Force, found in the pages of the upcoming Epic collection, New Mutants X-Force. No, I think it's just called Cable. So, Louise Simonson, this is her last hurrah on the book, is now being teamed up with this new young gun artist named Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld drew this character of Cable. He really wasn't much of a story about him. So Louise Simonson and him decided to write a quick little story about him coming from the future, coming to the past for a reason. We really don't get to find out the reason until the pages of X-Force. But this is how he ends up joining the team. And not just joining the team, but he takes over leadership of the team. There's a fight with the Freedom Force, and by issue 90, he is leading this team of New Mutants, making them and turning them into an X-Force, if you will. And as a matter of fact, this is kind of like the last stories featuring the New Mutants together, just having fun. I always found it interesting the way he drew Sabretooth compared to other people. But after this, you know, we get into the Extinction Agenda. So let's keep going. Like I said, this will be released in an epic format as well. Now, the next book right here, Extinction Agenda. This is also available in an X-Men Milestone. It will probably be in a New Mutants epic. But this is the story that kind of wraps up the New Mutants for us. Louise Simonson is still writing it, however, now the big co-plotter is Rob Liefeld. So when the book returns after this big crossover with X-Men and X-Factor, it will be just Rob Liefeld and then Fabian Nicieza scripting it. So it all kicks off with X-Men and leads into the New Mutants part of Extinction Agenda. So there were 3 New Mutants collected in here. And this is just the story of this country of Genosha in the hopes of trying to kidnap and enslave mutants on their hidden island. And because of this attack, the New Mutants now join forces, like I mentioned, with X-Force and X-Factor, and try to fight off Cameron Hodge right here. There's some amazing artwork here by Jim Lee, of course. Rob Liefeld does most of the New Mutants part except for one part, and then John Bogdanove draws the parts with X-Factor. So, different inkers on the book as well. And here's some of the New Mutants part. When the book comes back, it literally becomes the stepping stones for X-Force. That's why I think this is like the last time we see the classic New Mutants together in a big lineup, even though it's part of a big crossover. Back to School, which is the first 6 issues of New Mutants Volume 3. Nope, Volume 2 has never been collected, and it was just a 3-issue miniseries where it's got time travel things, and I don't want to get into it. But this is years later. This is after X-Force, and then, you know, X-Force got turned into Ecstatics. Then there was a New Mutants Volume 2 3-issue miniseries. But here we are, where the husband and wife team of Christina Weir and Nuncio de Phillips relaunch this series here of New Mutants. Kieran Grant does most of the artwork in the first 4 issues, and then Mark Robinson takes over the book. And the story focuses more on Danielle Moonstar, and you can probably tell from all my favorite stories, with the exception of a couple, she seems to be the central focus of most of these. And she's a former member of the New Mutants, right? Something happens in the pages, and all of it, I've done a New Mutants reading order. Something happens in the pages of New Mutants where she left the team, and she came back during the X-Force Feminicesa years. But now she is back. She's a former member of the classic New Mutants team and returns to Xavier School as a teacher to help raise another generation of New Mutants. This book eventually evolves into New X-Men, when then Kyle and Yost take over the book and make it its own thing, and that evolves into the new X-Force team. But it's not the last time we see New Mutants. We have one more story. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Return of Legion. There's also one more thing I'm going to be talking about in this book, and that is a big spoiler, so just in case, if you don't want to know any spoilers, stay away. It's not that big of a deal, but I think it's important and why I enjoyed this particular book so much. This is only available in trade paperback. There is a fat complete collection available of this book, so it's an easier way, more issues, but I'm mainly focusing on the first 5 issues of Volume 4, the return of this character right here. Now, the spoiler part has something to do with the story. This takes place after House of M and M-Day. And in M-Day is when a large portion of Earth's mutant had been depowered, and we're only down to 198 mutants, and that's it. Well, one of those mutants, spoilers again, happens to be Danielle Moonstar, right? Said it all centers around her. So this really leads into this tension between Danny, who wants to lead the team, and Cannonball, who has led the team, has led X-Force, was a member of the X-Men, eventually Avengers, but, you know, just doesn't trust her ability to lead this team because she doesn't have any powers. These characters forget that Storm led the X-Men and the Morlocks when she had no powers. Come on, man. Y'all know better than to underestimate a woman in the X-Teams. But this is one that I think brought it back home to me, and that's why I put it on this list. This list was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Apparently, I had a lot of New Mutant stories that I wanted to share with y'all. But that is my top 10 list. Now, most of these books, or their counterparts like the Milestones, are available through our sponsor,
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off the cover price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. And check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. And for you Minties, Cheap Graphic Novels is running a special promotion. If you're a first-time customer, let them know you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
And that was my top 10 list. This was a little harder than I thought because I had more than top 10. I really thought I was going to struggle with my top 10 favorite New Mutant stories. But apparently I had like 30 of them, so I would love to know what you would have included, what you don't agree with. Leave those comments down below. I always love a difference of opinion. And just one more reminder to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Check out our Redbubble and Patreon. Great ways to support the channel. Everybody, please stay healthy, stay safe out there, and much love to all of you.